So let's talk fantasy rugby. Let's talk about players to watch, injuries, interesting captain appointments, lots of interesting things in the build up to this Six Nations. If you want to join me in this fantasy league, it's the Rugby Analyst League. Link in the description or just search it. Have a look at the game's rules yourselves. I'm not going to bore you with those, but normal fantasy rules, you score in all sorts of ways: tries, assists, defensive plays, minus points for cards, all of that stuff. 240 stars, which is pretty generous. But these players' values will change if they do better or worse, which I like a lot. So let's start in the back three. James Lowe and Damien Penaud are definitely going to start for their respective countries, but who goes with them? That is a massive question. We'll come to those guys in a minute. Van der Merwe is absolutely tearing it up, but his partner in crime, Darcy Graham, he's injured. So again, maybe another new look winger for Scotland. Keenan's going to start for sure for Ireland. So all those four at the top there are going to score big points, but I'm going to select Thomas Ramos first because he kicks as well. Select Thomas Ramos. He is in. I like to go for Ramos. He did pretty well for me in the World Cup. And we can get a kicker at 10 as well, maybe one at 9. So I like racking up the points that way. Not sure if it's a good strategy, but it's one I like to do. Ramos is probably also going to be the backup 10. So I expect him to play the whole game if fit. Courtsey is an amazing finisher. So if you want an Italian in your team, pop him in, although he's quite expensive. Blair Kinghorn, I think he's going to be awesome. Scotland's out and out 15. You know, they've had a few injury problems. Ollie Smith is out. So he is by far the main man at 15. Will probably play the whole game as well. So very tempted to pop him in. In fact, let's just pop him in as well, because I think Kinghorn is going to have a great tournament. Playing in France now, playing so well. Ioane scores for fun as well for Italy if they get enough chances. I'm sure Freddie Stewart will start for England, but I don't know if he's going to be scoring lots of points. Graham is still there, but injured at the moment. Who else to watch out for? Well, I think the young Louis Biel Barry is definitely going to be a guy to watch. I think he might even be starting. That'll be interesting to see. So let's pop in Biel Barry, I think, on the other wing. There he is, two Frenchmen in my back three. I think Rio Dyer's got a great chance to start for Wales. He's pretty cheap there as well. Faye Wabusu, I think, is carrying a little bit of a knock. In fact, I think a lot of England players are carrying knocks. And also, whilst we're on this, Borthwick saying he's actually not getting great communication from the clubs about the injury status of these players. And that's part of the reason they're bringing in the central contract, so they get this sort of injury information very quickly. So that's interesting to kind of note that he's saying it's a big reason why they want these central contracts. Daly could well start for England, but I don't know if he's going to score many points. Stockdale still looking a little bit defensively vulnerable when he's playing for Ulster the other day. I don't think he's going to get the nod as the other winger for Ireland. The guy I think who probably will get the nod for Ireland is maybe Calvin Nash. He's going really, really well at the moment. A young flyer. And of course, with Mac Hansen out, he could take his spot. And another guy maybe to watch out for is Cameron Winnett of Wales. He could well be starting at 15. I mean, so many new faces are kind of going to have to be in this Welsh team because of players unavailable or injured. So yeah, watch out for Winnett. I really rate him. Furbank for England's playing great and probably should play on form over Stewart, but I doubt he will. So anyway, Kinghorn, Ramos and Biel Barry at the moment until I change my mind, which is probably tomorrow, to be honest. No guarantee in the centres that Gael Fickou will play for France, actually, although his experience probably means he will. Aki's definitely going to start for Ireland, surely alongside Ringrose, but Henshaw's playing so great as well. What a fantastic three to have. Can Hugh Jones retain his partnership with Tui Pelutu? I think Tui Pelutu is definitely going to start. So I think I'll actually get Tui Pelutu straight into the team. Very creative, scores as well. I think he'll get assists and scores. Who's going to play in the centres for Wales? George North looking a bit ropey. So I think it's going to be Tompkins and one other. So maybe Watkin there. Yeah, North injured at the moment. For Scotland, Cameron Redpath, I think, has a chance actually of playing with Tui Pelutu, playing so well for Bath. Bath playing really well. Henry Slade has got a very good chance of starting for England. Bad news for England, Ollie Lawrence is out. That is the power gone for them. So I think they're going to have to start someone else. Deportier for France is a hell of a player. He may well play for them. But I'm going to put a kind of cheap player in, the cheapest player really on 8. I'll put Fraser Dingwall in just because I think he's going to play for England as a bit of an outside shot there. And I think he's going to make a mountain of tackles and do nothing wrong. Maybe an assist. Maybe I'm being a bit optimistic, but going for a cheaper player there in the centres. So Dingwall and Tuipulotu. So not necessarily picking the best players as such, just trying to highlight some players that are good value as well and ones that might start that we might not think. Finn Russell, unsurprisingly, the top dog at fly half on 19 points. And goodness me, he's going to create, isn't he? So probably worth spending the money. Marcus Smith, I think, is going to be great for England. And I've actually been getting a bit of flack from some people saying he's not good enough for England. In fact, someone today said, I'm not going to watch your videos anymore because you keep saying Marcus Smith is good enough for England. And clearly they don't want to hear other opinions. So that was an interesting one. I think he is. So a lot riding on his shoulders from me there. No, hopefully he'll go well and he'll get the nod. We will see. I'll eat my words if he's not good enough at the end of the tournament. But someone who's probably going to be starting for France is Jalabert, who had a great tournament right up until in the World Cup, right until he made those mistakes in the semi-final. So very tempted to pick him. In fact, let's pick him because he's pretty cheap there as well. Very creative, scores tries. So getting those French backs in there. Hastings, poor lad's been injured again. He's had a terrible run of injuries. So he's out for Scotland. The 3 Irishmen there is very interesting. Crowley, Harry Byrne and Frawley. I think they're all pretty close to seeing who starts. Pretty much everyone's saying Crowley's going to start, so I'm sure you're right there. But it is pretty close there. Costello will probably take over for a very inexperienced Welsh side. So a lot on his shoulders for sure. And maybe Lloyd's going to be the second choice 10, actually. That'll be interesting. And will England manage to cap Smith and keep him away for Scotland? Because I think Smith is the real deal. As an England fan, I think he's got everything. Loads of control and some attacking flair. Maybe the best all-rounder of all of 3 England's fly halves. Let me know what you think. On to scrum half. Gibson Park is surely going to start for Ireland, the most expensive. Price, interestingly, he's so expensive there, so I'm not sure about that one. Mitchell, though, I'm going to put Mitchell in because I think he's playing really well, the best he's ever played, getting more experienced, more confident. Plus, he snipes. If he's allowed to play a bit more of his natural game, he could do quite well. So, flying the flag there for England a little bit. Might get some pushback for that, but hey, you've got to be patriotic. I think Thomas Williams is going to start for Wales. He's going to have a lot to do, maybe with a young fly half outside him, lots of inexperience and inexperienced captain as well. Didn't mention Daffyd Jenkins, who's got the captaincy for Wales. We'll maybe well pick him in a minute, actually. But yeah, players like Thomas Williams has got so much to do here. George North was an experienced player who's out. So yeah, Wales are definitely lacking in experience. Other 9s looking good. The one I want to mention there is Nolan Le Garrac for France. Could well be starting. The Petit General could be doing some kicks as well. Maybe I should stick him in, but I've had enough French players in there already. But yeah, he could well be starting. So his value may shoot up indeed. Onto the back rowers, and the most expensive ones are Earl, Doris, Aldreet and Van der Fleer. All fantastic players. Where is Earl going to play for England? Well, I think there's a slight injury to Underhill at the moment. Does that mean he moves to 7? So that'll be interesting to see if he plays 7 or 8. Doris is absolutely amazing, and it looks like he's going to be playing 8 for Ireland because 6 is now Peter O'Mahony, the Ireland captain. Good choice for captain, very experienced, will just lead by example, and others will absolutely follow. So that's going to be awesome, although doesn't have a central contract at the moment, which is pretty weird. Definitely some interesting captaincy choices. Obviously, the young Jenkins, an interesting choice, not a bad choice, but a young captain. Omani, an older captain without a central contract. Scotland with their dual captains, Finn Russell and Rory Darge. That's pretty weird, to be honest. I mean, Russell, from being a player that wasn't trusted at all by Gregor Townsend, now to being his main man and a captain, although full captain, is interesting. And then Darge, it came out of the blue a bit for him, basically saying, look, you're my number 1 pick at 7 if you're fit. And Jamie Ritchie, you just have to fight to get back in the team. So very interesting. Not sure they would be the natural captaincy choices for me. I might have gone for Grant Gilchrist as a solid option in the second row with captaincy experience. So let me know what you think of that one. But anyway, more and more trust in Russell, although not full trust. Who do I pick in that back row, though? So I'm going to go for Doris because I just love Doris. Caelan Doris is such a great player. All action, does everything. Let's scroll down a bit more. Gelange, Anthony Gelange, what a hard guy, but he is injured. I think he's out for the tournament, which is just a massive shame. Olivon is an absolute amazing back rower. And if they're going to play one of their beasts in the second row who you don't want to lift, he is such a key guy. Just why, again, why Courtney Laws is such a big loss for England, because they are world-class line-out operators, these guys. So let's get Olivon in. He's just so good, isn't he? Can't not have Olivon. Ferguson's on fantastic form for Scotland, and with Richie maybe out of favour a bit, he may well come back in at 8 or 6. So expect a return for him, actually. There's Richie right down there. Woki, I'm out of Frenchman now. I've picked too many. Oh, well. Woki's going to be starting for sure for France. He's amazing. Peter Amani, I said already, is going to be the captain. Ryan Baird, I expect a bench slot for him, actually, because he can play 6 and second row. So maybe a super sub. In this game, you can have super subs, so he might be a good one to take there. Underhill with an injury. Raffel's going to be starting for Wales. Wainwright's definitely going to start for Wales, but who's going to be the other flanker? Is it Basham? Is it Botham? That one's up for grabs for sure. And who's going to play blindside for England is up for grabs. We've got Chandler Cunningham South there at 9. I'm going to make a stab and say he's going to play another bolter there, really. He's going to play at blindside for me. And he's got the height as well. He's a good line-out operator with no Courtney Laws. Maybe he is going to be the replacement. Would be really excited to see that. Could be a long-term 6 player for England. Then on to the big men in the second row, and straight away I'm taking an expensive Tyburn just because I think he gets you extra points in the breakdown as well for a second row. One thing I've noticed is no Woki in there. They put him in the back row, which I think must be a mistake, but let's see if they change that. Atojo, I'm sure, is going to start for England, even though maybe he's not in the best form out of all the second rows, although he did have a good game in the last Champions Cup game in a struggling Saracens pack, actually, which is a little worrying considering England have so many Saracens players in that squad. James Ryan could have been a shout for captaincy for sure, but they went with Omani, but he's still going to be a leader. Beard and Rowlands are going to have a big job for Wales for sure. I would have thought they would have started, but obviously now David Jenkins is captain. One of these guys will start, so maybe it'll be Rowlands actually playing so well in France, but that's basically a toss-up between Rowlands and Beard. I'm sure they'll all be in the 23 anyway. Canone is a really good player for Italy, so if you want to get an Italian second row, he's a good shout. And watch out for Joe McCarthy of Ireland. Sure, Byrne and Ryan are the favourites, but loads of people will be very happy if McCarthy started, playing so well at the moment. Surely it's only time for him to be a starting second row. Chesham again is going to be a big guy for England. I think he's got a bit of a knock at the moment. They'll want him free and fit, especially because George Martin is injured for a little bit, so he's going to be big. Let's pick David Jenkins as my second row. There he goes. I think he's got such a big engine, makes so many tackles. He'll be everywhere. Plus, he'll play a lot of the game because he's the captain, so I think he'll get good points. And only 10 stars, an absolute bargain. On the last page of the second rows, one to note is Meafo of France, Emmanuel Meafo. He is currently injured, which is a massive shame because he may well have started. He's absolute beast, nearly 150 kilos. So they were gutted that he got injured, although they've just called in a couple of heavies. I think Willems is back in, and they've called up the 19-year-old monster, Pasolo Tuolangi. Yes, another Tuolangi who is eligible for France. There was a bit of backwards and forwards over that. But there's going to be a lot of French players out of the recent World Under-20 winners. So strong at Under-20s of France. Another reason why France are going to carry on being amazing, I am sure. And finally, my big boys up front. I can't pick any of the French guys, unfortunately, which is a massive shame. Ellis Genge may well not be starting. It might be Marla, but I've still got some Irish lads left. Porter and Furlong are amazing. Furlong looks back to full form, which is fantastic, but I'm taking Porter. I think he just does a little bit more than Furlong these days. Can I pick Furlong as well? Yes, I am allowed to. That is awesome. So let's pick Furlong as well as a pairing. On the second page, we've got loads of experience. Cian Healy could well be on the bench for Ireland, and Marler and Cole could easily be starting for England. The two veterans starting, which doesn't say a lot about the youngsters coming through, but does say a lot about securing the scrum. Then finally, I need to pick a hooker, and I've kind of run out of Frenchmen and Irishmen, which is a shame. Johnny Matthews there, he is a try-scoring machine for Scotland. Let's see how many minutes he gets. Luke Cowan-Dickey has a terrible run of injuries, and he is out again with injury. And Blamire's been called in, which is interesting, but I think Langdon's been banned, so maybe he was the next guy to come in. New captain Jamie George, he's there. I think he's going to take this captaincy very well, be very relaxed, very different sort of captain to Aaron Farrell. Like this guy a lot. Probably not as good around the park as some of those other guys who have greyed out there, Sheehan and Malvaca. Malvaca's probably going to take over Marchand as the starter for France. He's just been playing so well. So let's take, again, my English captain there. Let's be very patriotic and take Jamie George. I'm sure he's going to play a lot of minutes for sure. Hit some good darts, that sort of thing. So there's my team. Who am I going to make captain? Who am I going to make super sub? I'm going to have to think about that one. But yeah, Ramos, Kinghorn, Biel Barry in the back three. Tuipulotu and Fraser Dingwall as a wild card in the centres. Jalabert at fly half. Mitchell at scrum half. Back row of Olivon Doris and Cunningham South for England. Then Tyg Byrne, Dafford Jenkins, and Porter Furlong and George in the front row. So this was more just a chatting through the players, chatting through some of the issues. I'm sure I'm going to change this team. But anyway, yeah, please do get involved in the Rugby Analyst League. That would be amazing. Drop all the comments below as always, and I'll catch you soon.